Algebra 2, Lesson 67, Radical Denominators. This is actually kind of like Radical Denominators Part 2. We've already been dealing with denominators with radicals, which we know we need to rationalize them. Now we're going to be dealing with polynomials that contain radicals in their denominators, like this. In order to properly do this, we need to understand what conjugate means. In the end, conjugate means that whatever sign is separating your polynomials, in this case the first polynomial being -4, and the second one being square root of 3, the conjugate is just going to change the sign in between them. So here the plus turns into a negative, here this middle negative sign turns into a plus, and etc. So, and you'll notice none of the other signs change, only the sign in between the two terms. So, in order to rationalize radical denominators that are set into a polynomial form, all we have to do is multiply by the conjugate. So we'll take our first example. We have 1 over -4 plus the square root of 3. So first we need to identify our conjugate, which is just going to be -4 minus square root of 3. And then we're going to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by this. So when we multiply, we're going to have to FOIL the denominator, and the numerator will come out pretty simple. The numerator, when we multiply, is just going to be -4 minus root 3. However, this denominator, when we FOIL, we're going to take the first times the first. -4 times -4 gives me positive 16. The inside times the inside gives me -4 root 3. Then we do the first times the last. That gives me negative times a negative gives me positive 4 root 3. And then the last times the last, which is just negative root 3 times positive root 3, gives me -3. So what happens here when we multiply by the conjugate is we end up getting like a difference of squares here, where this -4 root 3 and this positive 4 root 3 being like terms cancel each other out. So all we're left with for the denominator is 16 minus 3. So to simplify our final answer, we get -4 minus square root of 3 all over 13. That's our final answer. And we'll go ahead and do one more example. Okay, over here we've got our next example, which is 3 over 2 root 3 plus square root of 2. First we're going to identify our conjugate, which is going to be 2 root 3 minus root 2. So again, same terms, all we do is change the sign. And we'll multiply both the numerator and the denominator by that term. And then we'll go on to our multiplication step. Now we'll see that our numerator is a little more complex than before, as we have to distribute this 3 into both of these terms. So we'll go ahead and do that first before we start doing any FOILing. So 3 times 2 root 3 is going to give me 6 root 3. And then 3 times negative root 2 gives me -3 root 2. So numerator is done, now we just have to FOIL the denominator. So first term times first term, 2 root 3 times 2 root 3. 2 times 2 gives me 4. Root 3 times root 3 just gives me the number 3, so then I have 4 times 3, which is just going to be 12. So first times the first gives me 12. Then we'll do 2 root 3 times negative root 2. That's going to end up giving me -2 root 6. Then we'll go to the inside times the inside. 2 root 3 times positive 2 root 2 gives me positive 2 root 6. And then the last times the last, which is root 2 times negative root 2, gives me -2. Again, these middle terms cancel. If you were multiplying by the conjugate and these two middle terms don't cancel, that means you made an error in your multiplication. You need to go back a step and see what happened. And then we're just left with 12 minus 2. So when we simplify our denominator to get our final answer, what we end up getting is 6 root 3 minus 3 root 2 all over 10. And that's it for lesson 67. If you have any questions, let me know on Moodle, and I'll see you in class.